Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 46. Today's date, April 22nd. In today's podcast, we'll do a recap and a preview. We'll look at a recap of game ones and preview game number twos in chronological order in regards to when the game two games are played, starting with the games on Tuesday night. We'll go in this order. We'll go in Phoenix at Minnesota, followed by we'll talk about Indiana at Milwaukee. The last game on Tuesday will be Dallas at the Clippers, and then we'll get into the Wednesday previews, which lead off with Miami at Boston, and then finally New Orleans at Oklahoma City. Welcome to today's podcast, and let's get started with a dominant performance by the Minnesota Timberwolves in a 120-95 win over the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, when you look at the Phoenix side, Kevin Durant was very efficient, 11 of 17 for the floor, 31 points, 7 rebounds, but 5 turnovers. Bradley Beal, pretty good, 6 of 10, 10 points, 6 assists. The problem is Devin Booker. Devin Booker, who has had a great season, only shot 5 of 16 from the floor, 18 points, but also the play of both Grayson Allen and Jusuf Nurkic was not up to par. And then looking at, obviously, the other side with Minnesota, Ant-Man was absolutely fantastic. Ant-Man was scoring 33 points on 14 of 24 shooting, 4 of 8 from three-point land. And then, obviously, the two bigs, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. Rudy Gobert with 14 points, 16 rebounds, 6 on the offensive side. Karl Anthony Towns, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists on 5 out of 9 shooting. So when you get into game number 2, right, what are we looking for here out of this matchup? A line that right now has the over-under at 214.5, Minnesota minus 1.5 as a short favorite. When I look at it, I'm going to look at a couple things. Number one, that guy on the left, Devin Booker's got to be far better than what he was in game number 1. He's got to be able to be efficient and shoot the ball at a higher clip, but also be that lead distributor for Phoenix. This is a guy that can create off the bounce. It's a dynamic scorer that I thought going into the series could lead the series in assist score, getting 6.9 assists per game, which was good for 11th in the NBA. Devin Booker must be much better. Another person that's got to be much better is Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen, who has a really ineffective outing in which he did not score in that game, game number 1, in which 25 minutes only took 3 shots, 0 of 3 from three-point land. And you're like, Grayson Allen's a big key. Absolutely, folks. Grayson Allen, folks, had a great regular season, shooting the ball 46.1% from 3. He's got to be that sniper that can knock down threes, because this is a Phoenix Suns team, folks, that doesn't shoot a lot of three-pointers. And I think that's something that they may have to do with a team like Minnesota, who does shoot the ball relatively well from 3. Third thing I'm looking for, Jusuf Nurkic. Jusuf Nurkic, who had a great regular season, someone I thought was an upgrade over DeAndre Ayton for what they needed. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Folks, Jusuf Nurkic has to be a double-double guy that gets you about 3 to 4 assists per game. He was outplayed by Rudy Gobert. I took Jusuf Nurkic pre-series to lead this series in rebounding at plus 330. So that's something that you may want to look at if you still want to get involved in the mix, even though Nurkic is 10, or I should say 12 rebounds behind Rudy Gobert. Lastly, on the defensive side of the ball, they have to make Anthony Edwards work. 14 of 24 is way too much. Will we see more of Josh Okogie? Obviously, Ant-Man was fantastic. But if you look at Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, those are not defensive stoppers, folks. They may need to employ Royce O'Neal, who did play 26 minutes, but he's more of a power forward, so he's not going to guard. I would look at Josh Okogie, someone that is a good defender, long and athletic. He may have to have more playing time in game number 2 to try and slow down Anthony Edwards, who had 33 points. So that is game number 2 that will tip off first off tomorrow, or I would say Tuesday night, between Phoenix and Minnesota. Let's move on to game 2. in which the Bucks took down the Pacers 109-94. Folks, the game was not that close. This was a game in which you saw a young team look like they were in the spotlight for the first time, and they kind of got punched in the mouth and got punched early, being down big, getting outscored by, I would say, over 20 points or almost 30 points. They were down 9 after the first quarter, right? Got outscored by 18 in the second. So down 27 points at the half. A team in Indiana that just didn't look ready. You know, you could look at the play of Damian Lillard, who was absolutely fantastic, 35 points. It was Dame time the whole first half, scoring and doing whatever he wanted at will. Damian Lillard played like the Damian Lillard that we have seen before in the postseason, which was downright unguardable. So he did a great job, but he also had looked at the play of Chris Middleton. And Chris Middleton has battled injuries year after year. 9 of 14 from the floor, 23 points, 10 rebounds. Bobby Portis, double-double, 15 and 11. And think about this, folks. This is a 15-point game. If Pascal Siakam doesn't outscore 36 points to get 13 rebounds, how bad of a game was this? Miles Turner, ineffective, 5 of 17 from the floor. Tyrese Halliburton didn't play well. Nembhard didn't do much. Obi Toppin, now we know why the Knicks traded you. You got no points off the bench. TJ McConnell, you can argue that TJ McConnell may have been your second best player after Pascal Siakam. And if that's the case, that's a problem. So that leads me to game 2 of Pacers-Bucks, with Milwaukee still a money line favorite in this game, minus 1.5 on the spread, 222.5. Think about this, folks. Game 1, I do believe, was 231. So it's already come down 9 points to 222.5. Think about that for a second here, as I think the game is going to slow down. So that leads me to the number one thing that Indiana must do: play with pace. They have to get this game up and down and rely on their youth to get them going. This is the Indiana team that's one of the best offensive in the NBA, one of the fastest teams in the NBA. They got to get the ball up and down the floor quickly. Outlet, get it going. Which leads to Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton, who took only 7 shots in game number 1. And Tyrese Halliburton, who talked a hell of a lot of trash to Milwaukee in the beginning of the year, talked a hell of a lot of trash after they knocked him out of the in-season tournament. Well, where is Tyrese Halliburton now? Tyrese Halliburton hasn't played well since he came back from this injury. This is a big spot for Tyrese Halliburton, who had 8 assists, 7 rebounds. He's got to get to 20 points. He's got to be a scorer offensively, because I still look at Milwaukee, and even though they got Pat Bev, I don't think if Tyrese Halliburton plays the way he's capable of, they could stop them. Next up, Miles Turner. Although he had 17 points, I don't need Miles Turner shooting 9 threes. I need Miles Turner to attack off the bounce. When he catches the ball, he's far more athletic than Brook Lopez. I need him to run the floor and try and run this guy off of the floor. Lastly, Pascal Siakam, outstanding. But Nembhard, Nesmith, Obi Toppin, they got to be better. They got to get more bench production, but I think, and secondary scores, but they got to get it with pace, folks. I think you got to understand it. So here's what I'm going to say to you. If you like Indiana, and I think I like them to win this series still, I am looking squarely at Indiana plus the 1.5. More importantly, if you don't want to take a side, look at over 222.5. There's no way that Rick Carlisle is going to let them play the way they played. Think about this, folks. 42 points in the first half, 52 points in the second half, and they still didn't play well. I expect them to get this game up and down a little bit. Look at over 222.5 for game number 2 between Indiana and Milwaukee. And let's go to the third game, the last game on Tuesday's slate, and that is game number 2 between Dallas and the Clippers. A 109-97 win for the Clippers, in which another team in Dallas, folks, that I just did not think looked ready to play. They looked slow. They looked lethargic, and I wonder if part of it was the fact that they knew that Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing, and maybe they put their foot off the gas. You got a great performance out of Luka Doncic. Luka did what Luka did. Slow start, got going in the second half, 33 points. Same thing with Kyrie. Really good in the second half, 31 points. Remember, 13 rebounds, 6 assists for Luka Doncic. Kyrie Irving, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. I played his rebounds plus assists. It was over 8.5 game 1. If it's at that number, again, run to the window. Game number 2, Kyrie will get the assists and the rebounds over 8.5. But that was it for Dallas, right? P.J. Washington, 11 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. did not play well, 6 points. Here comes Maxi Kleber to play 27 minutes, 3 points. Daniel Gafford, who's been really good, 3 points in 14 minutes, no rebounds, right? You go to the other side. What went right for the Clippers? The beard. The beard played like the way he is capable of. Now, with Kawhi out, his scoring's got to pick up a touch. And he was dynamic. 28 points, 8 assists, 1 turnover, folks. This is a guy who can throw the ball around the gym. 6 of 11 from the floor, from 3, I should say, for James Harden. PG, 22, 6, 3. Played really well, right? But the play, to me, the biggest story has probably been the play of Ivica Zubac. 20 points, 15 rebounds, plus 15. Had the highest plus minus of anybody on the floor for the Clippers. So Ivica Zubac, who thoroughly outplayed the centers, which would be Daniel Gafford, and then I guess you would look at some combination of Lively and Powell, a really good performance. Even Kleber played a little bit at the center position. A great performance out of Ivica Zubac. So when you look at game number 2, Dallas, 2.5 point favorite, over under 217.5. I like Dallas on the money line to get the job done in game number 2. I think it was a bad performance in the first half, scoring 8 points in the second quarter, right? Another team that was down big, right? You're looking at the fact that they were down almost 30 points at the break. Really made a run in the third quarter, made a little bit of a game at points. So to me, a Dallas team that played far better in the second half, and that's because of the play of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who shot the ball much better. I think Dallas will get the split. Some things to look at. Number 1, they got to get better production out of the center position. Daniel Gafford, who has been really good for Dallas, has to do a better job. The play of other players. Derek Jones, only 0-4 from the floor. He must be better, minus 14. He's a really defensive stopper, did not make a shot. But lastly, they need something out of Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr., who only took 5 shots. This is a guy that's a bucket getter. He's got to be that third guy. And if they want to win this game, they need Tim Hardaway to get somewhere in the 15-point range. He only got them 6 points in game number 1. So that's the play of the center position of Daniel Gafford, right? It's got to be better play out of Derek Jones. And then obviously Tim Hardaway Jr., it's got to be better. Along with the fourth, they can't let a guy like Ivica Zubac go off and get 20 points and 15 rebounds. They must do a better job on the boards. It was only 45-41, but you can't let a guy like Ivica Zubac do what he did. Let's move on to Wednesday's games. First off, what a beatdown by Boston. I want people to look at this score. Remember, this was not what this was a way worse than this score. A 114-94 win by the Boston Celtics over the Miami Heat in game number 1. In a game, folks, that really got out of hand from the jump. 9-0, quick run by Boston before Spo called the timeout. 14-0 before Miami even scored a basket. And what Boston did is they absolutely destroyed them from 3. Ready, folks? They made 10 more threes than Miami, right? Right then and there. That is a 30-point difference. It was a 20-point win. But you got to think about this. A lot of those threes came early in the third quarter. I'm not talking about the fourth quarter now when Miami tried to make a little bit of a run and make this a game. Think about this, folks. Boston shot 22 out of 49 from three. You take away Jason Tatum, they're 21 of 41. That is over 50% from three from everyone but your top scorer. Porzingis, 18 points, 4 of 8 from three. Drew Holiday, 2 of 8 from the floor, but 2 of 4 from three for 6 points. Derek White, 20 points, 4 of 8 from three. Jaylen Brown, 17 points, 3 out of 5 from three. Sam Hauser was absolutely fantastic in the first half. 12 points, 4 out of 6 from three. Old man Al Horford knocked down 2 threes in the second half, 2 out of 5 from three. And Peyton Pritchard, 2 out of 5 from three. Now, you saw something that was pretty interesting after the third quarter when it was over a 30-point game. I thought that Spo should have sat his guys and took a 40, 50-point butt kicking, went back, showed the film, pissed his team off. But he did something interesting, folks. He kept his starters in the fourth quarter to make them feel good and play better, which they did. Remember, folks, that lead got back down to 12 at some point in the fourth quarter before Boston opened it up again towards the end of the game. And you saw a little bit of what Miami is. Miami's physical. And I want to make sure I address this. The play with Caleb Martin, to me, and I don't like Miami, was not a cheap shot. If you look, Caleb Martin's looking at the basket. He's crashing the boards. He gets shoved by Holiday, and he does not even look at Jason Tatum. And there was a point that Jay Williams made on ESPN on Get Up this morning. I thought that was really telling. And Jay was right. When you shot goes up, you go check someone and block someone out, and then you go get the rebound. Tatum never blocked anybody out. So to me, as much as I thought that it was obviously a foul, Jason Tatum's got to go check and go meet Caleb Martin on the blockout, and none of that stuff ever happens. Let's move on to game number 2, in which Boston is a 14.5-point favorite, over under 204.5. And what out of Miami, you just got to get better production, folks. Tyler Hero had 11 points, right? 4 assists. If I'm not mistaken, he was 2 of 10 from the floor going into the fourth quarter. He's got to be better. Bam Adebayo had a great first half, disappeared in the third quarter. They need him to play better for the entire game. Not those garbage points he got in the fourth quarter. Jaime Jaquez was their best player, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, he was their best player. He was their most aggressive player. Caleb Martin has got to be better. And Jaime Jaquez is someone that, like we talked about this on draft night, Miami does this amazing job of drafting guys. You're like, nah, this kid's not good. And then they go to the Heat and they play great. Jaime Jaquez was their best player. They got to get better play out of Caleb Martin. They got to get better play out of Tyler Hero. And they must do a far, far better job defending the three-point line. They cannot allow Boston to get those rhythm jumpers. Those were rhythm jumpers, folks. I know some of the threes were deep, particularly Porzingis, but those were step right in threes. Those were not contested. And that leads to there must have been some kind of defensive breakdown by Miami. I will say this. I don't think Miami's getting swept. I think they're going to win one game. I don't think it's going to be game 2. But I'm going to be shocked if Miami gets blown out in game number 2. I think you will see this Heat culture step up, and you will see guys step in. You will see Tyler Hero be much better. You will see Caleb Martin be much better. You may see more of Kevin Love, who I went to his points plus rebounds. It was a 10.5. He got to 11. I think they need Kevin Love. He only played 13 minutes, partially because of blowout. Look for Kevin Love at that 10.5 if it's available to you again to bet on for Wednesday night. They need better play out of everyone, and they can't give up open threes all night like what they did in game number 1. Last game on Wednesday, which was the last game on Sunday, was honestly the best game of the playoffs, in my opinion. A 94-92 Oklahoma City Thunder win over the Pelicans. Pelicans covering as 9.5-point underdogs. And when you look at the box score, SGA was SGA, 28.6 rebounds, 4 assists, hit some big shots in the fourth quarter. Chet Holmgren, 15 and 11, double-double, had a huge block. For the flip side, C.J. McCollum, 20 points. Trey Murphy III, someone that I've been high on since he came out of Virginia, 21 points. And the play that I talked about on Betting Above the Rim on the show with Joe Ranieri on Sunday, Jonas Valanciunas, 13 points, 20 rebounds. You should see, if you can find again, Valanciunas, double-double at even or plus money, go to the window and take it. He's going to be able to get rebounds over Chet Holmgren, and he's going to be able to score enough to get to double figures. So make sure you look for that prop. If that double-double market is at even money, even minus 120, 125, go take it. I think Jonas Valanciunas will do a great job. So to me, when you look at game number 2, what do we need? Well, Brandon Ingram has got to be better. Oklahoma City right now, 7.5-point favorite, over under of 215.5. I thought this game was going to go over game number 1. Obviously, it goes under. I think it's going to go back to over. I think this game's going to get up and down a little bit more. Brandon Ingram's got to be better. 5 out of 17, 12 points. This is a Brandon Ingram that was terrible in the playing game versus the Lakers, was benched, and that was fantastic in their win over Sacramento. They need Brandon Ingram to be much, much better. Valanciunas was fine. C.J. McCollum, just shoot the ball better from 3. Trey Murphy III, you're fine. And he did what he had to do. Alvarado, you're not going to make shots. You're just going to go in and just piss people off. So, to me, there's not much that I think New Orleans has got to do better besides, obviously, B.I. play better, and then, obviously, Herb Jones and C.J. McCollum shoot the ball better from 3. When you come down to Oklahoma City, we'll see if they can continue this. I think they want to play with pace as well. But this is going to be an intriguing matchup. This is not your typical 1-8 series. And although Zion is not there, I still expect New Orleans to be competitive in this series. I think Oklahoma City wins game number 2 in another dogfight, and then we will take it back to NOLA for game number 3. Before I wrap up today's podcast, I just want to thank everyone. As many of you guys know, I lost my mom a week ago on Sunday. Found out right before I was supposed to go on air for Betting Above the Rim with Scotty Farrell. She was really sick, and I lost her. And I just want to take this time to just thank everyone for their support, for the text messages, for the DMs, for the tweets, for the IG posts, everything and everyone that reached out to me over the last 8 days for losing my mother. My mother was my biggest fan. My mother was my best friend. My mother was my biggest support system. And my mother was someone that, when I came into this industry in 3 years, was so immensely proud of what I've done. And I know my mother is up there looking down on me, still happy of their son, and still happy of what we are doing here at SportsGrid. And I think that's a testament to the leadership we have on the network. But I just want to thank everybody for their thoughts and their prayers for me losing my mother. For all things sports gambling, please go download the SportsGrid app on iOS or Google Play. Everything you need, pregame, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. Next podcast will be Thursday. We'll re-look at all the playoffs. Maybe we'll get into some awards. For my producer, Matt George, Vinny does a great job with the graphics. This is Coach Young signing off. Thank you so much. Remember, smart beyond.